Premio Nobel de Paz. Fue la primera mujer presidenta en África. Fue presidenta de Liberia. Se llama Johnson Sirleaf. La presidenta Johnson Sirleaf tuvo que enfrentar otra epidemia, Ébola, en 2014, de altísima mortalidad. Presidente Johnson Sirleaf, gracias por atendernos. Muy buenos días, President Johnson Sirleaf. Good morning and welcome to W Radio in Colombia, South America.
Thank you very much.
Grace, ¿cómo ella le ganó la batalla al ébola?
So, President Johnson, how did you win this war against Ebola?
We were able to very quickly try to understand the situation. When it comes to the current virus, because I'm not sure. Do you want to talk about Ebola or?
Yes, we want to start talking about Ebola and how did you win this war against Ebola?
Okay. In the case of Ebola, when it hit our country in the rural areas, we did not know this disease. So we quickly tried to understand it, and it was spreading very rapidly. We have borders that are open. People that were afraid began to run across borders into other areas of the country. We then initially tried to adopt a militant approach by ensuring that we put military units around the country to prevent people from running. At the same time, the spread reached the city, particularly our capital city, and it was devastating. People were dying. Immediately, I organized an information session for all the officials of government, for all the major entities, putting, of course, our Ministry of Health. We organized an incident monitoring system with those that have proper training. I chaired regular meetings to examine where we were, to understand the virus, to form responses. We were still having people dying by the day. I then reached out to the world and sent a letter to the world asking them to see this as a global threat and do not see that Africa could be left alone, because ultimately it would also affect them through the movements of people across borders. Let
me translate that really quickly, please. Nos dice que
Am I going too fast?
No, you're going well. Bueno, nos dice que ellos no conocían la enfermedad. El ébola era una enfermedad nueva. Trataron de entenderla y actuar rápido. Ellos tenían las fronteras abiertas y estaba la gente movilizándose libremente. Entonces, trataron de iniciar con una estrategia militar para evitar la movilización de las personas. Dice que en la capital, sobre todo, se esparció muy rápido el ébola, la gente moría, la situación era muy dramática. Entonces organizó al gabinete, a las entidades, a los líderes para tratar de entender este virus y tener una respuesta, pero la gente seguía muriendo y fue aquí cuando ella tomó la decisión de escribir una carta al mundo para que lo vieran como una amenaza mundial, para que no dejaran a África solo y pudieran ver esta enfermedad como una amenaza mundial.
Estamos hablando con la primera mujer electa presidente de un país en África, Premio Nobel de Paz. Por favor, Grace, ¿cuáles son los errores que se cometieron con ébola, que se están cometiendo con coronavirus y que no se deberían cometer?
So, President Johnson, which are the mistakes that you did with Ebola and that we are repeating now with coronavirus and that we cannot do, that we cannot repeat?
Let me repeat some of the main actions that I took. First of all, I recognize the fact that we had taken the wrong approach. And then I organized leadership in all of the communities to be able to serve as first responders, to identify people in their communities that had symptoms of the virus and to have them reported immediately to health facilities close in their area. The next thing I did was to take personal charge. I went into most of the areas in the country as much as I could reach through travel. I went and I took materials and supplies like PPEs, like masks, particularly for our health workers, because doctors were dying, nurses were dying, hospitals and clinics were closed, so many people were dying not only from the virus, but dying from ordinary diseases because there were no facilities to treat them. And so I went in taking materials to some of our clinics and, of course, working with our healthcare workers, our nurses, to give them the courage to go to confront their fears by being in them, and they saw me in person. They were able then to feel a bit more comfortable. You want to start? You want to do that?
Yes, I'm going to translate that. Dice que, bueno, ella se reconoce, Julio, que primero tuvo una estrategia negativa o no tuvo la mejor estrategia para abordar esta crisis del ébola. Y luego, cuando ya organizaron a las autoridades, empezaron a identificar a las personas que estaban infectadas con la enfermedad, fue a las áreas, a los diferentes sitios donde estaba la enfermedad, dice que recorrió lo más que pudo. Y lo que ella quiso hacer fue como darle ese coraje al personal médico para que ellos también pudieran enfrentar la crisis al verla a ella allí también luchando con ellos. Dice que distribuyó a los doctores, enfermeras de materiales sanitarios porque mucha gente estaba muriendo, no solo del virus, sino también de otras enfermedades. Entonces, digamos que nos quiso contar un poco cómo fue que enfrentó esta lucha con el ébola y sí reconoce que una de las cosas negativas fue la estrategia inicial que decidió implementar.
El coronavirus es una nueva amenaza sanitaria.